Yeah, I know I look like a bag of bones. I just came off a night shift. But I'm here to tell you that you need to watch this anime because it's underrated. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Underrated. Now, I did watch a video a little bit back about Moist Critical covering this anime, but I still for some reason a lot of people that I've talked to don't even know about it. So I wanted to come over on here and share my opinion, share my thoughts, because if this many people that I know don't even know about it, maybe this video can reach somebody that will really benefit from watching this anime. So it's called Sentenced to Be a Hero, like I said before, or showed, whatever. And just getting into the real meat and potatoes, without any of the nitty gritty. This show bangs. I mean, hardcore, brother. It is what I call a chef's kiss, a pure spectacle of animation, pure spectacle and storytelling. It is tubular, bro. Tubular. Absolutely astonishing. So some of the big things that I really loved, like I said, is the animation is stellar. There's constant, beautiful frames, constant awesome moments, and the way that the fights are choreographed and then thus animated is just really well done. There's not a moment where I was like, oh, they kind of didn't really do too well with that. No, the animation is just amazing all through every episode, all 12 of the episodes. It's very, very good animation, very high quality animation. Something else that I thought was pretty awesome is that it leads hard into those anime tropes, like whenever somebody gets speed blitzed, they go, he's fast, and the cool moments whenever the other it's like galactic gun, and then it kind of zooms in on their face, and then you even have like the lone wolf that is such a badass and he doesn't need anybody and he's just too good to be around everybody else. But then over time he starts to really warm up to everybody around him and becomes like a man's man, a people person, stops really being that jerk that he always is. So, I mean, I always love moments like that. Next, I want to talk about just the absolute phenomenal enemy designs or like character designs in general. I was only gonna initially talk about maybe the first couple episodes, but I feel like I kind of have to really get into the meat and potatoes of this. So if you haven't figured it out already now, there's a spoiler warning. There's gonna be some spoilers, all right? But the enemies are like these weird abomination disgusting amalgamations of like different parts of like goo and sludge and like weird tentacles and like just a lot of like nasty like really like Lovecraftian stuff. And it's like it's super 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 intriguing because like one of the cooler things that I saw was like there was this like unicorn-esque creature, but instead of having the horn on the top of its head, it had like two horns coming out in the middle of its chest, but it still had like this weird, disgusting look to like the rest of it. Like that was really cool. Like another thing, like the the demon lords in the show, like there's multiple demon lords, and they can be ranged from anything to being like a simple humanoid creature to what we saw in the very first couple episodes, which was this nasty, disgusting, like mosquito, fly, sludge, goo monster thing, and it was just disgusting. But man, it was actually a spectacle. That whoever made that design and then thus translated the animation into that, wow, phenomenal, man, absolutely astonishing. The next thing I want to talk about is the OST, man. It's shit bangs, dude. Like there's moments where like I usually just skip through the intros and the outros and everything. I'm just like whatever. Like let me get to my shows, but not with this show. Like I constantly found myself, tapping my feet, bouncing my head. I was even hitting the Obafemi strut sometimes because I was just so into like the music. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. And like especially the intro one, oh my god, it just hits so freaking hard to the point where like I might actually have to go like out and find it one of these days and download it because like it's just that good. Like it's a quality OST. It makes all the moments in the show, feel important and then they feel like they're amplified by the music, which is how it should be. So, it really well done on the musical front there. And then another part that I really need to talk about is just like the dynamics of the characters. Like all the characters are so unique. They all feel so different. Just like two quick examples, I guess. You have Xylo and Teorita, which Xylo's like our main character. Teorita is his goddess that he works with, kind of like there's like goddesses throughout the world and like they can choose a night, and whenever they choose that night, they kind of like bond with them and you know when they get praise, like they kind of grow stronger and stuff like that. And so Teorita and Xylo had become essentially bonded because Teorita had chosen Xylo. So like Xylo is a penal hero, and that is a person that is a hero by, you know, committing a crime. The crime, say they murdered a village. Well, they need a punishment that's higher than death. It's not a punishment that is fitting of the crime, and so they become a penal hero. And you know, you're really thinking, okay, like what's the worst part about being a hero? I mean, that's nothing. People are gonna love you. People are gonna envy you. You're a hero. Well, we'll get to that down the road. So Xylo and Teorita, they have this awesome bond that they build from the beginning. And Xylo, with him being a penal hero, he gets the ability to essentially explode daggers. He can heat up like his daggers, and then they pop like bombs. And Teorita, she can summon swords. So you put one and one, you get two. Boom. Here's Xylo. Thanks, Teorita. Bang. Explosion. Here's Xylo. Hey, thanks, Teorita. Bang. Explosion. You know, it works so well. It doesn't get old. They find a way to make it work the whole way through the show, which is amazing. It's compelling. Very good storytelling. And then the next character that I want to talk about just real quick, because I absolutely loved him. Absolutely loved him. Tatsuya. He is like this psycho crazy slave for the Empire badass guy. Like, I don't even know how to really describe him other than he's like a trailer park Broly. He just goes out, fucks niggas up, and then just without really saying anything, mostly just like loud cries and yells, and he's just like on a like a battle cry that he does, and it makes you feel something, man. It's visceral, it's raw, and it's awesome. And so yeah, Tatsuya was honestly my favorite character out of the whole show, without even saying a freaking word, man. So kind of like I had said earlier, you know, the story does get really interesting and right from the get-go. You know, you're introduced to these demon lords, you're introduced to these goddesses and all of these heroes and their penalties and how they became the heroes and all this and that. And it flows so well and so naturally, because as you're like getting all these questions, like, okay, but why is being a hero so bad? What's up with these demon lords? Why are they like doing what they're doing? You know, the demon lords are coming in and they're like cursing the earth, so like everything that they touch turns to an abomination. So like, for example, like say you find a frog and it gets, you know, touched by the demon lord's blight, it turns into like this giant disgusting abomination frog monster, and it's like got these weird like goose sacks in its head, and like these tentacles that are coming off, and like its eyes are all distorted. Ugh, it's gross, but it's awesome. And so like that's where like the heroes will come in. So like I said, we'd address it, that like what's so bad about being a hero? What's the worst part? Well, if you're a penal hero, you're not a hero by choice. You're forced to be a hero. You're sentenced to be a hero forever. Forever. If you die, you get reincarnated. And every time that they get reincarnated, they lose a piece of themselves. They lose their memories. And it does it in a way that I think is truly mind blowing. I I didn't really find myself like being like, oh, whatever, like that's stupid, until like a couple episodes in, when it started to hit me, and I was like, wow. So you're telling me every time this dude dies, every time someone hero dies, they're basically just losing a part of themselves. They're becoming more closer to like a mindless husk, and that's the case, man. I mean, kind of the last thing that I really wanted to address is like the monologues, man. Even whenever a character goes on like a 2 minute spiel, like they're actually interesting, because like it's not just like, I am here to save the day. This is like the era where I will vanquish you, the evil doer, because I am the hero. Like, no, it's nothing like that. Like they're actually telling like a true narrative, like a true story, and like they have like these really raw, visceral emotions that you do want to listen to and that you do want to be engaged with. I was gonna dive into like some of the more like actual story beats, but everything that I mostly talked about is kind of covered in like the first two episodes. The biggest thing that I really want to take away from like the major story beats is like you get to like this point where you're like, okay, like X has happened, we've defeated X, we've accomplished X, we've addressed X, but then Y happens, and Y feels more insane than X, and then it's like, okay, well now we've addressed X, or X and Y, and then we've dealt with X and Y, we've defeated X and Y, But then Z comes and it's like, like it just when you think things are about to settle down, boom, something else happens and something more monumental happens and it gets even more amplified, more magnituded, or it has even more magnitude. And there's just like even the what I would say like the slower part of the show, it still finds a way to really pull you in and be compelling. Like it was hard for me not to sit down and watch all 12 episodes. Like I broke it up over the course of a month because I'm one of those people that I don't like binge watching because I feel like you don't retain anything, like you need to space things out. Like that's why like whenever like an anime like say Dragon Ball Z comes out like, in like 2 years with the next part of Super, like I'll be watching that weekly because I think that's the best way to watch television. You don't retain anything whenever you sit there and you just consume all 36 seasons in 2 weeks, you know what I mean? So I found myself like actively sitting here like, man, like I really want to watch some more of this, but I can't. And then like I would, say I would come home from work, I'd be like, all right, let me watch an episode. And then so like it was like that, like it pulled me in even when I wouldn't think that it would. It still found a way to bring me back in. There's really not much else to say. Like I said, like the show does a really good job at balancing, the action, the dark atmosphere and tone of the world, the somewhat heavy theme of the penal hero system, and it does it in a way that's hype while also being disturbing and kind of emotional. There were moments where I kind of felt like I wanted to cry because it was just pulling on the right heartstring, like with the right character dynamics and the bonds that they've built and everything. Like it was really pulling on the heartstrings. I got really invested in the story and the characters in just those 12 episodes, man. I'd even say I was invested by like the 5th episode, you know. Just an hour of watching these characters bond and build themselves up, like it got me invested, and it was really, really well done. So, yeah, I mean, overall, it's just a fun watch. Like I said, I think it's a very underrated show. I'm glad that, like I said, Moist Critical was able to put me on, but there's still plenty of people that I know that haven't even heard of this. So I want to kind of put this out there and just hope that this helps somebody get a new anime to watch or something because I thought it was awesome. It's definitely one of my favorite animes of the last 5 years so far. It's been really good. And I'm hoping that when the next season comes out that it's going to be even more fun to watch and that they continue the amazing animation, the music is still great and the fights are still awesome because it was a 10 out of 10 for me. So that's it. That's all I got for you. Until we meet again. Deuces.
Ooh, this a hot shit, babe. You said that I've been hanging on to you. I don't play games cause I'm scared to lose. Baby, I tried to quit you. Now I feel like the smoke that you blew. Yeah, got my heart